buy something at one of the stalls, and I had a big bill, and I wanted change, and he called the lady over. I didn't know who she was. She didn't look any different from the other market women. But the woman was a millionaire. See, millionaires here, you be in a stretch Mercedes. She walking around in the marketplace, looking at like a regular market woman. Called me over, and she picked them, looked at my money, made sure it was authentic. And she held it in her hands and looked at the person who gave it to me, and looked around, and I was wondering what this is about. I think I can trust her. We went to some place partly secluded, and she opened that big belt on her waist. The lady was padded with money and made the change. I say, you're absolutely safe, sister, and I admire your industry, but would you tell me in American money just about how much you carry on you? She said, well, I haven't counted it since this morning, and I've been collecting at my different stalls, but it might be from $50,000 to $100,000 in America. I said, aren't you afraid to be robbed? She said, everybody knows me. And everybody knows I have money. If anybody touches me, everybody will know who did it. And she said, his life wouldn't be worth a franc after that. Look at the safety now. This is a Muslim country. This is a Muslim woman ruling the marketplace, going from different stalls, those different stalls that she owns, and collecting money, making change, carrying from $50,000 to $100,000 on her waist. No man is disturbed about it in the slightest. No man is propagating, you women are taking over, plotting everything. No nonsense like that. Some men are coming up to hoping she give them a job. I'm saying the best values of society that you created did not die. And while we're getting into European this and European that, we forgot that before the first European wore a shoe or lived in a house that had a window, we already had functioning societies before we existed. How can you sit still and hear somebody say he built the pyramids when he hadn't built a shoe for himself in Europe, a house with a window, or hadn't even written a book? And we're at the crossroads debating something because we have not looked and examined the history of our countries well enough to understand that we have already done what people are saying should be done. And we don't have to argue between Marx and Leninism because we had produced a substance and practiced it long before there was a euro. There's some confusion between the Karl Marxists and the Groucho Marxists. The Grouchos seem to be making the most noise, while the Karl Marxists seem to be in retreat. Why don't we tell people, we've been around this track before, and what you got to say? We never formalized things, we never dogmatized things, we just lived it out. With the first invasion of Africa from Western Asia in the 1700s, then again in the 1600s, the recovery, the second invasion, was 65, thereabout. And finally the invasion from Iran, 550. So devastated North East Africa. It opened the door for the Greek Alexander, who began to copy African history, African ceremonies, began to wear the toga. Then the Romans, who picked up the idea of the toga from the Africans, stopped killing, finally forced Christianity into being through taxation and misery. Finally stopped killing Christians and became Christians for political reasons. And the European is still a Christian for political reasons. And why are we following behind his Christianity, not knowing that his Christianity is some fakery dreamed up at the conference at Nicaea, 325? It is not Christianity at all. It's the handmaiden of his conquest. Finally, he made such a mess of it. A camel boy began to grumble, asked for reform. Failing to get reform, he asked for a new religion. This new religion was Islam. Now Africa is in another power track of history. The Africans favored the Arabs at first. The Africans were in Spain. Understand this, because most of you will not read history. The Africans were in Spain, well entrenched, 50 years before the Arabs. The general was Tarak Ben Azad, known as Jebel Tarak. The Rock of Gibraltar is named after him. There's a classic work written by a Turkish woman, Halle Bagiba. She said the army was as black as ink. The general was blacker still. The general was Tarak Ben Azad, and she wrote a book bearing his name, Tarak Ben Azad. Why did the general look blacker than the rest of them? His horse was dressed better than the kings of Europe. His horse, silk and brocade. He was riding a white horse. The others had another kind of horse that showed off his blackness. One day Hollywood might have enough nerve to put that in Technicolor. The ladies were so impressed. Each one put off a garment and throw it at the feet of the horse. Tell him, I'm available. Africa gonna have to own part of Hollywood before that one is made. But that would last almost 800 years. But the rise of Europe after the Crusade would put us into another bind. Europe rose, discovered shipbuilding again, started the slave trade, began to scatter Africans throughout the world. They had been scattered voluntarily throughout the world through adventurism and voluntarism. Now they're being scattered as slaves. We're in another bind now. We will not come out of this bind. The 19th century will bring us back to African consciousness again, something now mistakenly called